Sherm Chester with you on this edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum podcast, and we got a special guest, somebody I've been trying to get on board. We've had him on before, and he's one of our best guests, and we got him back again. Josh Morissette. If you've been listening to the show over the years, you know that he was part of a championship team at Exeter High School, and then he went on to prep school at Phillips Exeter. Then he went to play college ball at Wolford, and he was part of the Terrier team there, and then wrapped up his basketball career at St. Anselm's and the Hawks, and you set a record there for scoring points. I mean, you've had a pretty big career there, kiddo.
I have. It was definitely a lot of fun, and it was sad when it came to an end, but obviously it has to come to an end at some point.
Well, update us now. What's the latest chapter of the Josh Morissette story?
Yeah, so I just had my senior year. I graduated in May, and it was definitely like the most successful one I've been a part of. We were the number one seed and won the regular season at St. A's and ended up hosting the NE10 semis and finals and got to win an NE10 championship on our home court, which was awesome. And ended up going to the NCAA tournament, went to the Sweet 16 and fell to Damon, who was the number four team in the country. They were really good. We got a little unlucky with some injuries, but it was going to take our best stuff to beat them. And it was one bad half of basketball where we just didn't have it.
Right now, you're into another phase of your career. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I got lucky. I interviewed for an English teaching job during my senior spring over at St. Thomas. And I want to say 2 days after I graduated college, I got the call that, I got the job. And this fall, I'll be teaching over there English. I'll have sophomores and seniors. And then hopefully I'll be helping out my dad coaching on the hardwood.
In case people aren't familiar, Dave Morissette, Josh's dad, is the athletic director, or is it director of athletics? They go both ways. I mean, in college they like to call themselves the director of athletics, and in high school it's the athletic director, right?
Yeah, just the athletic director.
There you go. Well,
Simple.
his dad is also the head coach of the basketball team, so I guess let's jump there. Uh, Happy that you're going to be in the teaching profession because Lord knows we need all the teachers we can get, and obviously you got a lot of talent there. And then when it comes to basketball and sports, and you're going to try to eventually take and get a little deeper into that.
I would love to. I think I've known since I was a sophomore in high school, I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. And to have the opportunity to work with my dad would be awesome. And I can't think of someone better to learn from than someone I can just talk shop with in my living room.
Yeah.
So,
And now your dad is an official. I mean, now that he's a coach, he's kind of pushed back a little bit on that. But uh, that's another thing. Have you thought about officiating, or are you going to get into that too?
I won't get into officiating basketball. I ref lacrosse. Coach Ball has gotten me to officiate lacrosse for him. But I don't think I could ever do basketball because then I'd have to come to the conclusion that I was wrong about a lot of things that I probably complained about over the years. And I would like to stay on the other side where I think I'm always right.
But you know what's something I brings up a point that I was going to hit a little later, but let's do it now. You've seen different levels of coaching from high school, prep school, college, and you've matured in all those phases in your
Yes.
playing ability. Um, let's go to that question I was going to ask. You've seen those different levels of coaching. Um, what did you gain personally from each level? Let's start with the high school and prep school first.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like a mixture. Seem like at Exeter High School, you're dealing with a lot of kids who grew up together and a lot of kids who, they're best friends. And not everybody has the same goal, but like not everybody wants to go play in college. Not everybody wants to go to the next steps. They know like high school's kind of their ceiling and that's what they're going to put everything into. So like you kind of bring a group of kids together that grew up together and have different goals. Whereas you go to prep school, you can treat the kids a little differently. because like Phillips Exeter, we all had the same goal. We all wanted to play the highest level of college basketball that we could. That's why we went to, it's part of the reason you would go to Phillips Exeter. Obviously, there's the academic side as well. But kind of piecing that together, it's well, you guys all have the talent to go play at that level, but how can we win games here? And it's like kind of just treating you a little differently. It's treating you like we understand you're good. We understand you were probably the best player on your public school team, but you're not the best player here anymore. And it's kind of adjusting to a bunch of different like egos and things like that because it's naive to say a 16-year-old kid's not going to have an ego. Like, no, they're going to. I know I did. Other people did. It's who you are to growing up. And I think that was like the prep school life was our coach Tilton. I'm still really close to him to this day. Talk to him all the time. That's what he said. It was like the biggest challenge was getting you guys to buy into one and understanding you guys can help each other get to that highest level and you're not on your own.
And when you got to college and you started at Wofford, and obviously that's a bigger school, one of the bigger schools. Did you see a big change getting into that level of play?
Yeah, I think that one, a coach's job's on the line every single game. Like you have to really perform and you're treated like an adult. You are an adult at that point, but at the same time, like how you perform also affects someone else's livelihood. Um, and it's treated like that. You're gonna have the freedom to work out when you want. You're gonna have the freedom, to watch film when you want, but you have to do that stuff, or you're gonna be held accountable. There's gonna be repercussions to that. And, also at that level too, those coaches are a lot of them are established. So like they have more kind of pull with some referees where in a timeout, they may be out talking to the referee, but the expectation as the adults that you are on the team, you guys can run your own huddle for a little bit till the coach gets back.
Right.
So that was the expectation there. Then you get to St. A's where, Coach Dixon was one of the greatest to do it. He was at St. A's for 37, 40 years, won the most games in St. A's history, won the most games in any 10 history. It's one of the few college coaches at any level with 700 wins at one institution. Well, his way of doing it was he kind of sat back and watched the games, got on us when he had to, but like let us play the games. And all of his coaching came within practice. If he needed to get on us, he got on us in practice. And he'd make small adjustments throughout the games, which was great because now we're figuring it out on the fly. Like we're not getting yelled at for one little mistake during a game. Now, yeah, there are times he has to get up and yell. And he is someone who had a lot of pull with the refs. So he was off saying, like, hey, can you watch this? Can you look at that? And you kind of take that, like, well, coach built that. Coach Shookson kind of built that. The referees know him. He knows the referees. He can go and talk to them and maybe say a few things that other coaches can't, but he's done it for so long.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
knew as a team, like, at times, we have to be able to lead ourselves and pull each other help each other out in that part. And then I think Coach Santo, he coached under Coach Dixon. He coached under John Becker at Vermont, who's not many better coaches than Becker at Vermont right now, who's winning American East Championship after American East Championship. Like he had two guys to learn under. And, I think this past year I watched Coach a lot more closely because I knew that's what I wanted to do. And he kind of had like the perfect push and pull. Like he was in the huddles with us, but at times he knew we needed to talk to the officials. And I think that's just like where, you learn as a coach when to be with your team and when is the right time to step away and, maybe ask for some calls, maybe ask for some explanations so then we can get explanations as well.
Now, when you came back to New Hampshire to play ball at St. A's, did you feel more comfortable in that environment?
It was yes and no. So, you go to Wofford, you start playing, and there's nobody at games. I'm not, I'm looking up in the stands. My family's not there all the time. They got to the games they could. And, after the games, I had nobody to go and talk to. And then
Yeah.
come home to St. A's, Stoutenburg Gymnasium is awesome. If you've never been to a game there, you got to go to a game there. but it's small and it's right on, and they're right on top of you. But there are games I could go out there and see 75 people there just to watch me, and they're all going to stay after the game. So I think I had to get used to it at first again, where like a lot of the eyes there were going to be on me, which I love. That's part of the reason why I wanted to come home. But it was also like a big adjustment to like trying to find that balance where like, okay, if we lose this game, I still have to go talk to everybody that came. And I hate losing more than I enjoy winning. So I'm not the best after a loss. And trying to find that balance again was hard, where it was like, okay, they all came here, they spent the money to come here. You have to go at least say hi. And like that was difficult for me at first.
Now, hitting 1,000 points at St. A's, and that must have been special too. And your family was there.
They were there. So that one was, I wish we could have done it a year earlier because it would have been at home. But we're up in Buffalo, New York for 1,000 points. But my family made the trip, so that was a lot of fun. And then our opening home game, I got to be honored, and a bunch of my friends came to that one. And that was a special moment. They all stayed after. We got pictures. So that was definitely something that I will keep in the memory bank. I got a bunch of pictures of it. So
Well, I think from what you just explained to us, um, you got the foundation, brother. I think, maybe having some time with your dad on the bench, and it's just a matter of time. You'll be coaching, man. I can tell. You got the
oh,
skill set, and you've also got the knowledge.
that's always been the plan. So, and my parents have been coaches too forever. Like
Well,
obviously,
yeah,
you know, my mom as well. So
yeah.
it's in the family,
It's in
and
the
it's
gene pool, man. It's in the gene pool.
what I've always wanted. So
You'll take your time, and like you say, now you're into being an educator, and the coaching part of it will be part of that experience. And then I wouldn't be surprised we see you on the sidelines of some college, someplace down the road, someplace.
never
I'd love,
know.
I could see it, man. I can see it.
Never know.
I got to ask you about something in college basketball that kind of has taken over, not just basketball, but all college sports, this NIL and the portal. What's your take on? Let's start off with the NIL, name, image, likeness. That's what it means. So,
Yep. So I've always believed college athletes should get paid a little bit. And I understand you say like, well, they're getting most of them are getting free education and that's their um that's their payment for what they're doing and being able to play their sport. The problem is there's no like cap on how much money can get sent to athletes. So this NIL right now is really kind of benefiting those bigger schools who have more money because they have the money. They can throw around millions of dollars every year and it's not going to affect them. Whereas the school right down the road from us, UNH, can't spend that money. So like they're just at that disadvantage. Now I say college athletes should get paid because of the amount of money they're bringing in. The amount of TV sponsorship deals that schools are getting because of how good their basketball or football team is a lot more money than what you're giving them in a scholarship. So they're bringing in a lot more money than what they're getting back. And the pressures that puts on an 18 to 22-year-old kid, something should be brought from it. But I think there needs to be, in some sense, like a cap where the NCAA can meet and be like, you know what, you can't spend more than this much money, so it evens the playing field. Because right
yeah.
now, those Power Five schools have a big advantage in recruiting, in the transfer portal, getting those top athletes, and the smaller schools are just kind of sit there and wait because there's only a certain amount of people. $100,000 is a lot of money, but it doesn't seem like a lot of money in basketball right
Well, the
now.
NCAA commissioner, Charlie Baker, he's been working on some sort of a plan, especially when it comes to the transfer portal as well. Because going back to coaching, I don't care what sport it is. I mean, I saw it with football, college football. And I'm sure the same problem, headache with college basketball or any sport in college. That portal, it puts pressure on a coach constantly to rebuild a team, and especially if it's a wild west thing where you just go anywhere you want. Now, what was your take there?
I think it needs some rules. Like I think you should be allowed one free transfer. Um, like let's say you pick a school and it doesn't work out. That happens all the time.
Right, right,
And you know, coaches have the free will to jump around all the time. So like one free transfer in my opinion would be okay. It's when you transfer every year. Like
right.
I feel like if you transfer a second time, you should have to sit out a year before you can play again. That way there's some, leeway on like, okay, maybe I can stick it out at my current school. Because right now the NIL and transfer portal are hand in hand. Well, I'm gonna transfer here because they're sending me this money, but I'm gonna have a good year and try to transfer to a higher level and get more money.
Mhm.
Because I watched it at St. A's going into this year, we had three returners. We had eight open scholarships and we needed to find 12 new guys. And we brought in 12 new guys. I think those two things are hurting Division 2 basketball to the point where Division 2 basketball might not be a thing in 10 to 20 years.
There's a lot of money tied up, like you said, with the networks buying. I mean, it's getting to the point now where they're putting any sport on just to cover time on like ESPN or Fox or
Right.
whatever. I mean, you're talking billions of dollars now for sports,
Right.
and it's getting out of hand. And as a coach, and especially the old time coaches, I can see where they would get frustrated having to manipulate a roster constantly. They've got to come, like you say, something with a set of rules or a cap or something because it is getting to be the wild west.
And what's getting lost too is the recruitment of high schoolers and it makes sense if I'm a college coach and I need to fill a few roster spots, and I can go in the transfer portal and find someone who's a proven college basketball player. Why wouldn't I try to get him
Right.
over a 17, 18-year-old freshman?
Yeah.
But being able to jump around so much, it's affecting this amount of scholarships that are available to those upcoming juniors and seniors.
And years ago, I remember when Phil Rowe, who was an Exeter Blue Hawk many moons ago, he was coach at Keene, and then he came down here to take on UNH, the Wildcats, and we were at a basketball banquet. This was again years ago when he was the head coach at UNH, and I asked him flat out, "Why don't you try to recruit kids from this area just to get fannies in the seats? I mean, there's some kids with talent. Now, granted, they're not maybe superstar material, but at least they were well-known commodities in their state, in their area here in New England." and, and like you said a little while ago, at least their parents and their families might show up and put some fannies in the seats to watch them play, you know?
No, I get it. And it's tough. I think it's gotten so out of control. I don't know if there's any coming back from where college sports is right now.
Well, let's move to the big guys, the Celtics. They've made a couple of moves, and one in particular when they sent Jaylen Brown to the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, what was your feelings about what went on there and what's your take?
I had a love-hate relationship with Jaylen Brown. I didn't hate the trade. I don't know if Jaylen loved Boston as much as at times Boston loved him. At least being a part of the Celtics. I remember I saw he said like this was his most fun year playing basketball. And I'm like, you got bounced in the first round.
Yeah.
Like that's a problem if like that's the most fun you had. And I also look at it this way. You have the same team coming back from last year minus Jaylen Brown. But you basically replaced Jaylen Brown with a healthy Jason Tatum for a full year, Paul George and Mitchell Robinson, with Mike Conley as well. It's a pretty good group that you can come back. And last year, without those four guys, we were the 2 seed in the East. I don't know if I think they're going to be pretty good again. Yeah, the Sixers are a little scary with their lineup now after, you get Jaylen Brown, you get LeBron. But I'm still very hopeful that the Celtics can go and win the East. I'm not scared of any team in the East.
Is there a team other than, say, the Sixers or the Celtics you could see being dangerous?
Well, I don't think you can keep the Knicks out of that conversation, even though that hurts me to say,
Were you
because they've been,
surprised? Were you surprised by them?
yes, but so sadly, my coach Santo, my St. A's coach, worked for the Knicks and is a huge Knicks guy, so I have to listen to him for the next year. Um, because I gave it to him when the Celtics won it. We both talked about it. Brunson is the most clutch basketball player in the NBA. Whenever you need a bucket, whenever you're down two, you're down three, or you need to clinch a game, I don't think he misses. He hits every big shot that you need him to take, and to have someone like that on that team, and like everyone else bought into their roles and played their roles perfect. I was a little surprised they beat the Spurs and Wemby, yes, but they had been there and they had played in big games before, also playing in them together because a lot of them played in college together. So, yeah, I would have probably put money on the Spurs if I had to, but after watching them up close, it made sense why they won it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it made for some fun basketball. I mean, it really did a fun end to the season, even though, well, for obviously you Celtics fans, it wasn't fun. But on the other hand, I mean, you're right. We got bounced out early, and that hurt. And one thing and it doesn't matter what team, injuries right now. I see this in baseball, especially. I mean, now everybody seems to be on the IL. Now, conditioning. Let's just touch on that too. Uh, you've seen it in the different phases of basketball you were in. How important is it? Now, you played year round, right, with basketball.
Yep.
And so you were staying in condition, even though it was an off season or whatever you want to call it, vacation or summer vacation, whatever. You have to focus on it just basically 12 months of the year, correct?
I wouldn't say you have to focus on it 12 months of the year. Because like I look at it and like during football season, I wouldn't do a ton of basketball conditioning.
Okay.
But I would always be in the gym making sure, my jump shot stayed consistent and things like that. Because I think still playing other sports, like, yeah, football and basketball conditioning are two completely different things,
Right.
right? Football, you're training for 20 seconds at a time, whereas basketball, you could go 6 minutes without a whistle or a stoppage in play. But you're still in pretty good, like, I was still in really good shape playing football, and it made it easier to get into basketball shape. Whereas, yeah, playing baseball and playing like spring basketball and summer basketball, I had to run a little bit more playing baseball because, I love my brother. He doesn't have to run a lot on the diamond. He runs 90 feet, maybe 180. So, yeah, but if you want to be really good at your sport, you have to be in the best condition you can be for that sport. And, I think I didn't have the greatest junior year that I've ever had. And part of that was I lacked my conditioning. I didn't do all that I could to make sure I was in the best shape ever. Whereas I came back my senior year and made sure that you couldn't doubt the condition or shape I was in. And it showed on the year I had.
So no matter what sport it is, you got to stay focused. I mean,
Yeah.
like you say, you can back out a little bit, but you can't just say, okay, I'm putting it away for X number of weeks or months or whatever. You got to be in the zone, at least mentally.
Mentally, because at least like if I was in the best football shape, that meant I was still in good shape. And that's easier if you're already in good shape, it's pretty easy to switch it and get in like the shape for a different sport when that's going to come.
And you always hear coaches say that they like to have multi-sport players. Now, you try to get sports that kind of flow together. I'm thinking like a lot of hockey players play lacrosse because there's some similarities there, but also there's a lot of basketball and just the physicality of the sport of lacrosse and hockey, basketball. I mean, I've noticed that since I've been covering it the last couple of years. What about you? Now, you were a multi-sport player. Um, what we got, obviously you preferred basketball, but I mean, if was there in the back of your mind like, gee, I'd like to play baseball like your brother did, or
Yeah, well, I think that's a fun question because I think I was always a better baseball player than basketball player, and people would admit it. And I think I can admit it now. But I just didn't enjoy it the same as basketball. But I think playing three sports is the most important thing you could do because you learn so many different things from it.
Mhm.
Like football, you learn the toughness and like the grind of long practices after a long school day. You don't want to go to football practice on a Wednesday because you know it's going to be the worst day of the week. Tuesday and Wednesdays are the two worst days of the week, but you grind through it. And there are days in college where, yeah, I've had a long day of class. I had the game yesterday. I'm sore. Probably don't really want to practice. But after going through it in football and like learning how to do it, I was able to bring that into basketball. Then I look at a thing like baseball where it's such like the little details on things, like certain footworks, trying to pick up a pitch or like a little tip the pitcher has to see what he's going to throw. You can bring that into like the little things in basketball. And you just apply what you learn from other sports to like the sport you really want to play. And it gives you more of an edge and like an advantage.
do you? Again, I know your brother Cody, and we'll bring him up now. He's obviously very successful in baseball. He's with the Twins organization. He was a multi-sport player. Was he always into baseball, or
He was always into baseball.
so that was going to be his focus no matter what?
Yes.
Okay, because he's obviously whatever sport I saw him play, he excelled in it and really got into it. But you're telling us that baseball was always in the back of his mind as being the one he'd like to go and play professionally.
Yeah, I remember like when I was a freshman, he was a senior, we were playing basketball together, and we'd go from practice and he'd head to the cages to hit after practice. I'd go with him sometimes. Sometimes I'd just be like, all right, drop me off at home and you can go. Um, but yeah, he was always getting his swings in. We had a batting cage. We used to have a batting cage outside. So after like a football practice of when he was like a sophomore, junior, he'd come and hit off a tee. I'd flip him some balls to hit. And, he was always just working on that.
So friendly rivalry as far as baseball is concerned, because like you say, you were good at it, but you didn't enjoy it as much as basketball, correct?
Correct. And I think when we were both 18, I don't know if he'd ever admit it. I was better than he was when he was 18. Um, but it didn't like matter to like if I got out, it didn't matter to me. Like I didn't need to try to fix what I did wrong because I'm like, no, I'm gonna go up and I'm still gonna try to hit the ball. And it was kind of like him with basketball. He didn't care if he missed a jump shot, he was gonna shoot the next one. And that's because he worked on baseball every single time. He can figure out what he does wrong. I know when my jump shot's off, so I know how to fix it. I don't know how to fix my own baseball swing.
Were you getting from your coaches or were you getting hints from him or tips from him?
A little bit of both. I think we always played the same position. So like I remember at shortstop, whenever we'd take an infield, outfield, I'd always go after him. And whenever a ground ball was hit to him, I'd watch his footwork and I would come up and just do whatever he did. And sometimes I would make him mad because he'd like do something on the run, then I would go do it. And he'd be like, "Have you ever done that before?" I'd be like, "No, but I watched you, so I thought that's how I had to do it." And he goes, "I've worked on that for 4 years and you just did it." So those were always like the fun little back and forth where like I could kind of just pick up on things that he did and he worked on them a lot more than I ever did.
Well, see, that's a good thing of having two guys that are you were obviously the junior member, but you were watching, you were paying attention, you weren't just kind of
Always, always. There's no one. I was very fortunate because I had a brother who set the correct path and did it first. And, I was lucky to have that in my corner to kind of follow and, ask questions when I had questions.
and you got two parents that are successful when it comes to athleticism and coaching and that doesn't hurt either.
Correct.
They weren't going to let you slough off, and they weren't going to let you do something that was going to derail any potential. Let's put it that way.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, that's so Cody. Just to touch briefly, is he's with the Twins organization, and as we record this, we're getting towards the time when they'll start calling people up to they expand the rosters on the major league rosters. Looks like he might be up with the Twins.
Sherm, I'm hoping. He had a really good July, and he just had a week. What is it, second week of August, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that's
just
good.
went 6 for 18 on the week, and he said, "I don't even feel like I played that well." And I mean, I'd take 6 for 18 in AAA,
There you go.
but he's playing great. He knows what he has to do, and just kind of keep performing.
He's in a good organization now. He was drafted out of college, out of Boston College. He was drafted by the Marlins, and at the time they were going in one direction. Matter of fact, Derek Jeter was part of their brain trust, and then all of a sudden things just kind of fell apart there. So I was happy to see that he went with the Twins because that's an organization I think that is not only up and coming, but they also are always looking for good talent.
Correct. I think he's in a really good spot. You know, I think he loved, the people at Miami, and he's got a lot of close friends there that, he'll talk to for the rest of his life, and he'll probably go and visit them a few times a year. But I think for his baseball career, and he'd even say this was the best move for him, and he's just got to take advantage of the opportunity.
Exactly. And something I did want to bring up, uh, something cool that a lot of you guys did just recently. The Exeter 11-year-old Cal Ripken baseball team got to go to their World Series, and you guys and your brother Cody, Ben Malgeri, who's with the Detroit Tigers organization and playing for the Tigers currently, and then also the head coach of the Blue Hawks, Bruce Joyce, did a little video to kind of encourage those guys going into that Cal Ripken championship, and I thought that was really cool of you guys to do that.
Yeah, we got asked, and it's Exeter. Exeter supports Exeter. That's how it's always been. So we were thrilled to do that, and I think actually they're playing pretty well down there if they're still playing. I was following their Instagram a little bit and saw they at least won their first game, then had a tough loss, but looked like they were playing well, and hopefully if they're still playing, they get a few more wins.
I know that it means something to those guys because you know, I say this every year when I go to the football end of the season banquet that a lot of these guys that are sitting there when they move on to college, their playing days are over. They may play some college ball, but the chances are slim and none beyond college. Let's put it that way. We've had a few exceptions, Hunter Long and right here in the Seacoast, and it's really a crapshoot. It's not. You can have a lot of dreams, and now okay. Let's put it in your lap. If you had been able to make it to the NBA, was there a team you would have liked to have played for?
Well, I think the easy answer is the Celtics,
There you go.
but it wouldn't have mattered to me if I was able to make it to the NBA. Um, I would go wherever somebody told me, and I'd play for one day. Wouldn't matter.
There you go.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, I looked at overseas options as well, um, but I didn't think I wanted to do that. I actually knew I didn't really want to do that, so decided teaching and coaching was my next calling.
I think you're doing the right thing, my friend. I think you're gonna do fine, and you're a young guy. You got a lot of life ahead of you, and I think that it goes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. I think that these guys playing, especially high school sports, enjoy it, get the most out of it. This is probably the high water mark for a lot of them, and a few of them will move on to college and do some college ball, whatever it is, college sports. But it just, again, those are exceptions, and as long as you find at the end of the day that you've done your best, and I think you have. Obviously, you feel that you've accomplished something. It wasn't like it's over. You've got more to give, and you will. This is just the start.
Mhm.
You're going to be coaching, man. I can tell. You've got the
Oh,
skill set you've learned over your career now, and it's just a matter of time. So I'm looking
yeah,
forward to, like I say, seeing you. We'll catch a couple of those games over at St. Thomas this year, right?
sounds good. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Just don't give Dad a hard time,
Never,
and don't let
never.
him give you a hard time either.
I'm sure he'll be able to.
It's 2 minute drill time. I just want to ask you, is there any other thing in sports that you'd like to throw on the table? I mean, we talked about some baseball, but is there the Red Sox? We've seen them make a big run, and then all of a sudden it's kind of like dog days of summer are hitting them in the head. Do you think there's going to be a potential for the Red Sox doing something good at the end of the season?
No, I do. I think they showed us that, you know, it's there, but at the same time, it's the life of being a Red Sox fan. You start the season with the highest of hopes because of the talks, and then they break your heart, and then they pull you back in again, and somehow at the end of the season, they'll break your heart. So hopefully, this is like an early second heartbreak, and we pick it back up going into October.
And for my 2 minute drill, I want to take a look back in history to September 25th of 1974. That was a big day. It had a big effect, a future effect on Major League Baseball. That was the day that Tommy John had his ulnar collateral ligament replaced in his arm with a tendon from his wrist. And it was done by Dr. Frank Jobe, who was the doctor for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And again, it was at the time experimental on a human. Job had been practicing it, but this was the first time it was done on an athlete. And Tommy John had it done and had to sit out a couple of seasons. But after that, his career took off a second time. So Tommy John had been in the major leagues with the White Sox, and then he went to the Dodgers, and then he had the arm trouble, and that's when the elbow had the work done on it, and he sat out the year and a half. Then he came back and played with the Yankees for a couple of stints. Bottom line of the story is he played in Major League Baseball for 26 seasons. Only one other player went longer than he did, and that was Nolan Ryan. And this surgery, the Tommy John surgery that revolutionized the game of baseball. So a lot of these kids put a lot of stress on their arms playing college ball or even high school ball, as we were talking about earlier. So over the years, it just wears down. If it hadn't been for that surgery in 1974 and it becoming successful for not just Dr. Joe, but the many orthopedic surgeons throughout America, well, the whole sporting world has a lot to thank Tommy John for, and Dr. Job, obviously. But my point being is we lost Tommy John this past week to ill health at the age of 83. Sad thing is he's not in the Hall of Fame. No, not in the Hall of Fame. Now, the knock is he didn't have a superstar career. He didn't lead the league in strikeouts or have a low ERA like some pitchers over the years. But 26 years he pitched. And after the Tommy John surgery, he had 164 wins. That's after the surgery. Most of those were with the Yankees. The big thing is that Sandy Koufax, who was a great Dodger player and a Hall of Famer, he had only 165 wins total in his career. Now, granted, he was a dominating pitcher and he had shoulder trouble and arm trouble. That's why he gave up baseball or had to give up baseball. This is before the Tommy John surgery became the thing. Who knows what would have happened if it had been in existence back in the 60s when Sandy Koufax gave up pitching. I guess my point being is I'm sad we lost Tommy John. The world's a better place for him having had that surgery. And I guess why isn't he in the Hall of Fame? I mean, really, I mean, I understand that the old timers committee could put him in there. And under the circumstances, there are a lot of young players that owe their career to him just for being the guy who decided, hey, I'll take it on. I'll try it. I'll try anything to keep my career in baseball going. And Tommy John did for 26 seasons. Get him in the Hall of Fame, Commissioner. Come on. Well, that does it. Thanks, Josh Morissette, for joining us today. And Don't forget, if you're enjoying the podcast, please pass the word. We're on all the major podcast platforms. And also, if you have any comments or questions, send them to us at seacoastsportsforum@yahoo.com. So until next time, on behalf of Josh Morissette, this is Sherm Chester inviting you to join us for the next edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum podcast.